Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are exploring a place in the northeast of India famously known as the abode of clouds, Meghalaya. Now, if you spend any time at all scrolling through travel feeds, you've definitely seen the postcard perfect images of this state. But today, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of just admiring the stunning surface, we're peeling back those gorgeous layers to dive deep into the fascinating forestry data that makes all this natural magic possible. Because honestly, the data hidden beneath these tourist spots is just as captivating as the views themselves.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with 1, the beauty of Meghalaya. Then 2, mapping the green cover. 3, who owns the forests. 4, rich biodiversity and bamboo. 5, forest fires and threats. And finally, 6, a delicate natural balance. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The beauty of Meghalaya, a tourist's paradise.
Take the Umgat River in Shlong Pending, down near Daki. The water here is so exceptionally crystal clear that it literally looks like the boats are hovering in midair. You can see crisp shadows on the riverbed right below them. It's pristine, unbelievable scenes exactly like this that have completely transformed Meghalaya into a premier global destination.
To truly experience this state, travelers usually jump on a familiar 5-day rhythm. You kick things off in the Scottish-like highlands of Shillong to take in the tribal history. By day 2, you're walking through the ancient Maflong Sacred Grove, where, by the way, no plant may be removed, before heading south into the deeply mist-shrouded gorges of Cherraplangji, also known as Sohra. Day 3, that is a massive physical feat, trekking down to the living root bridges. Day 4 takes you to Malinong, famous as Asia's cleanest village, and out onto those hovering boats in Daki. And finally, Day 5 wraps the whole shebang up by exploring vast underground limestone systems like the Masmai or Arwa caves.
What's amazing here is how human ingenuity is so perfectly intertwined with nature. The centuries-old Umxiang double-decker living root bridge in Nongriat village requires a pretty grueling trek down roughly 3,500 stone steps. But here's the thing. This bridge isn't built, it's grown. Over generations. It brilliantly shows how deeply reliant both the local communities and the booming tourism industry are on the native flora of the region.
Section 2. Mapping the green cover, the engine of paradise.
So transitioning from the tourist trail to the hard science, we really have to ask a critical question. What is the ecological engine that sustains these towering waterfalls and crystal clear rivers? Well, the answer lies in a single staggering number, 76.32%. According to the 2019 Indian State of Forest Report, or ISFR, over 3/4 of Meghalaya's total geographical area is covered in forest. We are literally talking about over 17,118 square kilometers of thick green canopy.
Breaking that immense blanket down reveals exactly what kind of forests we're dealing with here. The vast majority is moderately dense forest at 41.32% and open forest at 32.82%. Very dense forest actually makes up just a tiny sliver at 2.18%. And this specific makeup functions essentially as a giant green sponge. It plays a massive, absolutely vital role in capturing and filtering the state's legendary rainfall. Remember, Meghalaya is home to Mawsynram, the wettest place on Earth, experiencing annual rainfall anywhere between 4,000 to 11,500 millimeters. That sponge is what keeps those famous waterfalls flowing.
There's such a stark contrast between what tourists experience, like, say, the incredible 340-meter cascade of Nokkalikai Falls, and how satellites actually map those vital forest canopies. The strict satellite interpretation maps out exactly where those crucial moderately dense and open forest covers are distributed across the Garo, Khasi, and Jaintia hills just to sustain this entire ecosystem.
Section 3. Who owns the forests? A unique system.
Now, when a state has this much forest, the natural assumption is that the government must manage it, right? Actually, scratch that. Unlike almost anywhere else in India, the true guardians of Meghalaya's ecosystems aren't state officials at all. They are the local communities themselves.
To put that into perspective, the State Forest Department directly controls a very minimal fraction of the land, just 1,113 square kilometers spanning reserved forests, national parks, and sanctuaries. The vast majority of the community and private forests fall under the administrative control of 3 distinct bodies, the Khasi Hills, Jaintia Hills, and Garo Hills Autonomous District Councils. This deeply ingrained local ownership means that conservation here is entirely intertwined with tribal, sociocultural, and socioeconomic life.
Moving to Section 4, Rich Biodiversity and Bamboo, the Roots of the Region.
Rapid biodiversity assessments tell us exactly what species are making up this massive 76% green cover. Leading the pack in sheer numbers inside the recorded forest areas are Shima wallacei and Pinus cassia, which is a type of subtropical pine. Interestingly, though, when you evaluate trees outside those recorded forests, out in the rural community areas, Pinus cassia dominates even more, making up over 36% of the relative abundance.
And all this biodiversity builds a foundational resource for the region: bamboo. The scale here is staggering. The state holds over 1,521 million bamboo culms, or individual stems. Let that sink in for a second. These bamboo-bearing zones cover over 5,410 square kilometers just inside the traditional forested locations known as green wash areas. So this isn't just a plant, it's a critical architectural and economic pillar. It's literally the material used to build those spotless skywalks and pathways in Malinong Village that visitors absolutely love.
Section 5. Forest Fires and Threats. The Data Warning.
But as amazing as all this is, this water-rich paradise has some significant vulnerabilities. The ISFR mapping of fire-prone areas reveals dense red and orange clusters, particularly in the Garo Hills towards the west, highlighting zones that are under severe imminent threat. It's a jarring contrast to those idyllic, misty tourist images that define the state's public image, isn't it?
When we chart out the specific danger, the reality is sobering. By combining the top three categories, over 44% of Meghalaya's total forest cover falls into highly, very highly, or extremely fire-prone classes. That means nearly half the state's forests are operating at a massive, persistent risk.
And that persistent risk translates into real, measurable loss. The data shows that forest cover actually decreased by 27.21 square kilometers between the 2017 and 2019 assessments. A massive driver of this decline, right alongside the fires, is the continuing prevalence of shifting cultivation. As communities naturally utilize and rotate their lands for necessary agriculture, the sheer density of the canopy inevitably takes a hit.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, a delicate natural balance.
We are really looking at a deeply delicate balance here. It's humanity existing in literal harmony with the forest, stepping lightly over rivers on bridges made of living roots. The entire state relies on this traditional community-led conservation to maintain its 76% green cover, while simultaneously trying to thrive and grow economically.
There is just a constant push and pull here. Yes, plantation and conservation activities in some areas have successfully increased tree cover outside the main forests. Yet the deeply ingrained practice of shifting cultivation, combined with the stark reality of fire threats, continues to alter the landscape. That's what leads to that net loss of over 27 square kilometers. It is a profound tightrope walk between sustaining a livelihood and sustaining a literal paradise.
So, I want to leave you with this thought to consider. As visitors continue to flock to see the crystal rivers of Daki and the towering falls of Sora, how can Meghalaya's unique, ancient tradition of community forest ownership adapt? How do they protect this incredible 76% green canopy from shrinking further amidst rising fire risks and agricultural needs? The next time you look at a pristine travel photo, I hope you remember the complex, beautiful, and fragile ecological engine running just beneath the surface. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.